So conferences like this, books, and I'll tell you another thing that I wish somebody had told me when I was 19. When somebody tells you something that sounds outrageous, there's this book. It's called something like Say Yes. This woman said for 1 year, she was going to say yes to every single thing somebody said. Her friend was always trying to, you want to go salsa dancing? She was always like, no, I can't go. Yes. As long as it's legal and ethical, say yes. So now when people come up to me, even like 3 years ago, people used to come up, I get bombarded every day. I get like 10,000 direct messages a day across Instagram, and people will write me, oh, Ty, I know how to, there's a kid in Dubai. I heard about this kid for 1 year. Dubai, he's in Dubai. Everybody's like, you got me to meet this kid. I'm like, why? They're like, he made $80 million last year. And now, what's everybody's gut feeling about that here? Bullshit, right? Okay, so my business partner, we own this company, Mentor Box. My business partner's first business has done $1 billion in revenue. He's kind of a well-known guy in Silicon Valley, San Francisco. So I told him, hey, this kid, everybody keeps telling me to learn from this kid. And my friend's like, bullshit, we know more about Facebook ads, we know more about this kid. So finally, I remembered from my mistakes, say yes, just assume, for the sake of simulation, that this kid's telling the truth. So I FaceTime. You can tell right away when somebody's an idiot. So I FaceTime him the first time and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm drop shipping electronics. He said, I didn't make 80 million, I made 60 million. That's what he told me. So he was trying to be humble. He's like, no, I didn't, people said I made 80, I only made 60. I was like, still pretty good. So while I'm FaceTiming him, he's like, I hear a bell go off. I'm like, what? And I realize he's in a high school hallway. He's still in high school, he's only 17. So I still didn't believe it. I'm like, bullshit, this kid. So like I said, my friend, my business partner, Alex, he's much more of a rigid mindset. I said, Alex, I've been doing this experiment. Just assume people are telling you the truth. You don't have to go all in and change your whole life and buy into what they're doing, but just assume hypothetically for a second they're telling the truth. So we got on his phone and we pulled up our Facebook account for one of our companies, Mentor Box. We own it 50-50. It's the biggest non-fiction book shipping company in the world. Walmart is a customer of ours. So I told the kid on FaceTime, analyze our Facebook and tell us how to fix it. Because I was like, if this kid's made 60 million bucks, he'll know how to do it. So I thought this kid would get stuck. In 60 seconds, this kid tore apart our whole Facebook campaign. He's like, oh, you forgot this. My business partner literally sat there going, because he's proud. He's made $1 billion in his first business, Zeus. He started the 4th biggest dating site in the world, Zeus. His app for Zeus is number 4 in history, did 250 million revenue. And here's this 17-year-old kid in high school completely taking him to town on his Facebook campaign. And now Alex goes, dude, this has changed my life. Everywhere we go, every person we meet, every book, we still find bullshit, but we assume the best to start with. If you do that, it will transform your life. Trust me. Because what's the alternative? Trial and error. If there's a bow and arrow, I got a bow and arrow, let's say that's a target. How many ways can I miss the target? Basically, I can shoot there, everywhere but one spot. Let's say each of those is 1 month of your life, and you're shooting random. Oh, this. You will literally run out of years before you're successful. In fact, the average person, everybody in this room will be a millionaire. I guarantee you. I can guarantee everyone will be a millionaire, multi-millionaire, if one thing happens. You can live to 150. Do the math on the exponential growth curve of what you have. And for some of you who are already millionaires, do the math over being a billionaire. So the whole point of life is what are the tools and the tricks to condense it down. I live in Beverly Hills. Almost everybody in Beverly Hills, the most Ferraris in the world are in Beverly Hills where I live. Every one of those, 99.9% of those people in Ferraris and Lamborghinis, they get out and they're 75 years old, and they're like, and they got their plastic rebuilt girlfriend over here. I got their plastic car. And I'm going, I always think what Steve Jobs said. He said he didn't want to be the richest man in the graveyard. But you know what he turned into? The richest man in the graveyard. And a lot of people look up to Steve Jobs, and who am I to say Steve Jobs wasn't an amazing businessman? But he's not the best to me. Because he made huge mistakes. People were trying to give him the tools of dealing with people. They were like, don't be an asshole to your boardroom. Who here knows the story of Steve Jobs? He owned his company, built his company, pissed off his whole board. Every one of them voted him out. He spent 10 years in purgatory, basically. By the time he came back to Apple, he died a few years later. And he died the richest man in the graveyard, basically. So that's an example warning. Life isn't that fair. It's fair and not fair at the same time. It's not fair that we don't live longer. It's not fair that Steve Jobs got pancreatic cancer. But if he could be 19 years old again, I guarantee you he would have listened more. And when someone would have told him, hey, when the board is angry at you, learn how to read people. Learn psychology. Learn how to read narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy. It's prevalent in entrepreneurial situations, but he didn't listen. So I hope one of the takeaways that I hope everybody would have is that make 2018 the learning machine year. And I preach this message to people, not preached, whatever. And time after time, people come on the street and they're like, you know what? The main thing you got me to do, Ty, because I can't take credit for people's success, you made me read Gary Keller's book, The One Thing. Who here's read that book? Write that down in your notes. Read this year, The One Thing by Gary Keller. I don't make any money, I'm not related to him.